Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, often known as MGNREGA. So the Ministry of the Rural Development is the nodal ministry for implementing the MGNREGA. And this flagship program of the Government of India touches the lives of the rural people through providing them employment and promoting inclusive growth. So basically, it is an Indian labor law and social security measure that aims to guarantee the right to work, and it aims to enhance the livelihood and security in rural areas by providing at least 100 days of wage employment in a financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work. The World Bank, in its World Development Report of 2014, termed it as a stellar example of rural development. The Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, MGNREGA, was earlier known as the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, and it was passed on 7 September 2005 to augment employment generation and social security in India. So it covers all districts of India except the ones with 100% urban population. So basically, it was in 1991 that the PV Narasimha Rao government proposed a pilot scheme for generating employment in rural areas with the goals like employment generation for agricultural labor during the lean season, infrastructure development, and enhanced food security. So this scheme was called the Employment Assurance Scheme, and which later evolved into MGNREGA after the merger with the Food for Work program in the early 2000s. See, MGNREGA was initiated with the objective of enhancing livelihood security in rural areas by providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work, as we have discussed earlier. But its another aim is to create durable assets such as construction of roads, canals, ponds, and wells. Moreover, the employment is to be provided within 5 kilometers of an applicant's residence, and minimum wages are to be paid. And if work is not provided within 15 days of applying, so the applicants are entitled to an unemployment allowance. Therefore, if the government fails to provide employment, it has to provide certain amount of allowance to those people. Thus, employment under the MGNREGA is a legal entitlement. So it is to be implemented mainly by the Gram Panchayats, and the involvement of contractors is solely banned. And apart from providing economic security and creating rural assets, it can help in protecting the environment, empowering rural women, reducing rural-urban divide and migration, and fostering the social equity among others. The MGNREGA is the first ever law internationally that guarantees wage employment at an unprecedented scale. And moreover, the work that is permitted under the MGNREGA Act address the causes of chronic poverty like drought and deforestation and soil erosion, so that the employment generation is sustainable. And the act is also a significant vehicle for strengthening the decentralization, for deepening the process of democracy by giving a pivotal role to the local governance body, that is the Panchayati Raj institutions. So the Gram Panchayats plays an important role in the function of MGNREGA. Let's discuss the salient features of the act, which are as follows. The right-based framework. So for adult members of a rural household willing to do unskilled manual work. Then time-bound guarantee. So the 15 days of provision of employment, or else unemployment allowance has to be provided. Then guaranteed employment, that is up to 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a financial year per household depending on the actual demand. The labor intensive work, so the 60:40 ratio wage and material ratio for permissible works at the Gram Panchayat, including no contractors or providing no tenders to any other organizations. Another feature is that decentralized planning. So in this context, it can be noted that the Gram Sabha recommend the works, and at least 50% of the works is done by the Gram Panchayats in terms of execution. And see the principal role of the Panchayati Raj institution in planning and implementation and monitoring the um, provisions of the act. Then it also provides worksite facilities such as drinking water, first aid, and shade provided at the work sites. Another feature of the act is the women empowerment point, as it ensures that at least one third of the beneficiaries of this act should be women. Transparency and accountability. So the proactive disclosure through wall writing, citizen information boards, and management information system and social audits. And the funding is provided by the central and the state governments. The 100% of the cost towards unskilled wages and 75% of the towards skilled, semi-skilled, and material is paid by the central government, whereas the 25% of the skilled, semi-skilled, and the material cost is contributed by the states. And in addition, the 6% of the administrative expenses are taken up by the center for the effective implementation of the act. So basically, the scheme was a type of guarantee to right to work and employment within 15 days of enrollment, and providing economic security and decrease migration of labor from rural to urban areas. But now let's study the changes in MNREGA structure. So by 2009 to 10, the MNREGA wages were only 90% of market wages for males, but 26% higher than market wages for females. By 2011 to 12, they were lower than the market wages for both the categories of worker, but for females they were somehow close to the market levels. By 2017 and 18, the estimates shows that the private market wages for males were higher than MNREGA wages by 74%, and female market wages were higher than MNREGA wages by 21%. So clearly no male worker is going to demand MNREGA work when he can get a much higher daily wage with the same effort. And however, women continue to demand and work under MNREGA through market wages are higher because of non-availability of work and discrimination, as well as the exclusion from the private labor market. The shutdown of all economic activities due to COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a massive loss of livelihoods. So a significant part of this workforce, labor workforce, has reverse migrated from cities to rural areas. So in order to address this migrant crisis, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on March 26, 2020 announced that the workers under the MNREGA would get a hike of rupees 2,000 each on an average. And it was also announced that the 3 crore citizens, persons with disabilities and widows will get one-time additional amount of rupees 1,000 into installments, which will be provided through DBT, direct benefit transfer, over a period of 3 months. So this announcement was made as an initiative towards the loss caused by the COVID-19 outbreak, and the 21 days lockdown is expected to cost the Indian economy a cost of around 9 lakh crores. So the funds worth 31,000 crore are also to be provided to augment medical testing, screening, and providing better healthcare facilities to those who have been affected financially due to the COVID-19 outbreak. So with nearly 8 crore migrant workers returning to their villages, and an additional allocation of funds could be a moment for the true revival of MNREGA. So in order to utilize the true potential of this scheme, there is a need to address the underlying challenges of the MNREGA. So now let's discuss the following underlying challenges faced by MNREGA as a scheme of government of India in general, and also keeping in mind the COVID-19 pandemic. So first challenge that it has to face is inadequate financing. So due to lack of funds, state government finds it difficult to meet the demand for employment under the MNREGA scheme. Secondly, a delay in payment of wages. So most states have failed to disburse wages within 15 days as mandated by MNREGA, and in addition, workers are not compensated for a delay in payment of wages. So this has turned the scheme into a supply-based program, and subsequently workers had begun to lose interest in working under it. Another challenge is ineffective role of Panchayati Raj institutions. So with very little autonomy, the Gram Panchayats are not able to implement this act in an effective and an efficient manner. Further, the large number of incomplete works. So there has been a delay in the completion of works under the MNREGA, and inspection of projects has been irregular, and also there is an issue of quality of work and asset creation under MNREGA. Another important issue is that fabrication of job cards. So there are several issues related to the existence of fake job cards and the inclusion of fictitious names, missing entries, and delays in making entries in job cards. Discussing the challenges faced by this scheme, let's also discuss a way forward and the measures it could include. So basically there are two types of measures that it should work on: the short term measures and the long term measures. So the short term measures includes that the state government must ensure that public work gets started in every village, and workers turning up at the work site should be provided with immediately work without much delay. Secondly, that local bodies must proactively reach out to return and quarantine migrant workers at this time and help those in need to get job cards. Thirdly, that adequate facilities such as soap, water, and in current time the mask and sanitizers for workers must be provided free of cost at the work site. Thirdly, at this time there is a need to speed up the payments to MNREGA workers. Preferably, cash needs to reach the workers easily and efficiently. And when it comes to long-term measures, the pandemic has demonstrated the importance of a decentralized governance. So the Gram Panchayats needs to be provided with adequate resources, powers, and responsibilities to sanction works, provide work on demand, and authorize wage payments to ensure there are no delays in payments. Secondly, MNREGA should be converged with other schemes of the government, for example, the Green India Initiative or the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, etc. And thirdly, that the social auditing creates accountability of performance, so especially towards the immediate stakeholders. Therefore there is a need to create awareness regarding government policies and measures in rural areas especially. So as MNREGA is a bottom up, people centered, and demand driven, self selecting, and right based program, thus it remains a crucial for integrated resource management and livelihoods generation perspective.